am the fat woman of the opera. I'm going to sing and then we all go home. And I'll keep it quick and painless because I am the only smoker in the room and I'm dying for a smoke now. I'm coming from off-map. Ulrike, I'm sorry? Guerrero. I don't know how to pronounce it. Guerrero? Guerrero. Ulrike Guerrero showed the map, and I wasn't in the map even. I'm coming off the map, and actually I'm going to talk about maps as well. Yeah, only Istanbul part, yeah. Yeah, we will. Okay, I'll tell you about another map then. When we were growing up, there was this map in our classrooms when we were little. We grew up with that map. That was the official map of Turkey. And in this map, of course, Turkey as a country was the biggest thing in the world. And on the upper side, there was a bit of Europe. And on the right downside, there was grayish-yellow desert, actually, with Soviet Union, of course. That was deserty as well. It was a clear picture of the ideology of the establishment, actually, which was saying, the Republic was saying to us, look up, look up. There is, colorful, and it was all colorful, by the way, Europe. The colors are there. And, don't look at those desert. There's nothing there, only the camels and the dirty Arabs. Our education system was imposing Arab racism. That's another issue. But that was a very clear picture of the Republic and how the Republic wanted their children to grow up. The ultimate goal was Europe. And as the founding father of Turkey, Atatürk said, our goal should be to catch the, I'm quoting it now, to catch the contemporary civilizations and to rise above it. So actually this goal put us in a very strange and difficult position. We, people in Turkey, we have been always in this existential vacuum, if I may say so. We had to put ourselves to, we have to feel like we have to show ourselves like this big to the Westerners, whereas at home we felt like this big. So we were each time sucked by the either side of the vacuum. And it's a very, very difficult way of being. So one day, in 2002, AKP came to power, and this whole map changed all of a sudden. We had cities, all the details, colors, in the downside of the map. And the promise was to, come to the peace of with our heritage, Ottoman heritage. Although, I think this was curing a disease with another disease. I remember I was flying to Lebanon. I wrote a novel there called Sounds of Bananas. And there were upper middle class Turks traveling to Lebanon. And each and every time I was seeing the same thing. They were looking down on Arabs, and they were, being very loud, like Americans. And they were feeling too happy, because they were in the Ottoman land. And each and every time I thought the same thing. They're too happy now, and they're going to collapse very soon. They were actually enjoying the new disease, which was feeling superior to some other people in the world. And then, meanwhile, I was, traveling to Oxford, London, Paris, all of the European cities, and I was giving speeches there. In Oxford, in London School of Economics, and even in House of Commons. As a secular person from Turkey, who is criticizing the government, I was beaten down by the intellectuals of the Western countries. Because there was this frenzy. While Turkish people were enjoying the superiority feeling towards Arabs, there was the intellectual frenzy in Western countries. This idea of perfect marriage between Islam and democracy was both like there is no tomorrow. And most of the intellectuals, but I mean almost all of them, lost their objectivity, lost their cold-bloodedness, and they were in love with this idea of Turkey being the model and having the perfect marriage between political Islam or Islam and democracy. I remember one day in Oxford, one of the spin doctors of AKP government was there, and after giving a fairy tale-like speech about Turkey, which which moved all of the audience incredibly, he raised his glass and he said, "You see, I can drink wine as well." And for some reason, for Western intellectuals, this was convincing enough for him to drink wine. It was as if the whole ideology, whole system was a simple matter of lifestyle. For 10 years, seculars like me, or critics of the government, suffered the same criticism from the Western intellectuals, which was, oh, since you're criticizing AKP government, you must be, defending the strong hand of army in the administration. Or we were simply being blamed of being anti-democrats, which was painful. So for 10 years, Europe didn't even, suspect that there was something going wrong in Turkey, or they all kept very silent. And this was something very strange. And now, since we lost Umberto Eco now, I'm going to quote him now on this. He was saying once that don't think that fascism will come in uniform. It can come in genes as well. So I think Europe was not really good enough to recognize fascism when it was coming in a very speedy way. Then came the Gezi uprising, and all of a sudden the whole world realized that there was something wrong in this country. And it's very unfortunate that 12 young people, and some of them were kids, had to die for this reason before the whole world to realize that there is something wrong in the country. So I wrote this book. I dedicated to those 12 children, and most probably the reason I'm here is this book. And those 12 children were, lighter than their coffins. Actually, it's a fun book. It's in spite of the dedication. It's a fun book because it's telling about a tragedy that has been repeated for so many times, then it became a comedy. I'm going to be very quick, seriously. I'm going to skip all the details, how this 10 years was hard for everybody, people like me, and how much price we paid to be understood and to be heard on the international level. And I'm going to skip to the new intellectual frenzy now. All of a sudden, after Gezi, I think people couldn't keep silent or turn a blind eye on these things anymore. So there's this new frenzy of Tayyip Erdogan being the dictator, as if it tells the whole story. It's all about Erdogan now, and there's almost intellectual race to criticize him in Western intellectual circles. So if it's all about Erdogan, what are you going to do about the millions who support him religiously? Or the divided society? Turkey has been divided all along. Do you know that we have two toilets? Like one is called Alla Turca, and the other one is called Alla Franga. And even the toilets are politicized. If you're a conservative, you go to Alla Turca, which is basically a hole in the ground. And then if you are westernized enough, you go to the Alla Franga. So it was all along like this. But the country has not been divided so severely since its establishment. So what are we going to do with all these people? Instead of finding a scapegoat, I think we should ask the bigger questions. And the bigger question is neoliberalism accompanied by conservatism sustainable? But that goes for not only for Turkey, but Malaysia, Indonesia, all other countries that has been contaminated by the ideal, marriage of political Islam and democracy. I'm not going to answer that question, but the main question here should be, I think, Does Europe care? I think it should. And this brings me to the concept of dignity. My special thanks goes for today's key speaker, Oscar Nicht, right? He brought to the table the concept of dignity in the morning. Otherwise, we could have been stuck with last night's key speech, which proposed renting a land which is close to Syria and putting all the refugees there. Dignity is a very interesting concept because you cannot define it. But then, if it's not there, as soon as it's not there, you know it's not there. And dignity is very important in sense of its universality as well. But before that, I have to tell that we are not talking about dignity because we are people of higher value, but because this situation without dignity cannot be sustainable. Otherwise, your leaders will... I'm like, even thinking about this makes me laugh. Your leaders will come to our flamboyant palace in Ankara and bargain about human lives as if, embarrassed merchants. If dignity is not there, it's better for you to know that there is no high and long enough wall to keep all those people running for their lives. Dignity is important and universal in terms of this fact. If you ever have been to Tahrir, when Tahrir was happening, the biggest concept and the most popular concept was dignity. So isn't this interesting that this morning Oscar Nicht put dignity in the middle, in the center of European Union, whereas we see the lack of it in European Union. We see it, out loud, very local in Tahrir. That's why I'm proposing something, a solution, maybe, for the new Europe. I talked about this in Freedom of Lecture in Amsterdam. They didn't buy it. Maybe you buy it now. It's called Andalusia Reloaded. Andalusia Reloaded. In Tahrir, in Tunisia, in Turkey, Gezi, in Spain, all people were talking about the same thing. And I think the new Europe will come from Andalusia Reloaded. This is important not only for political future, but also for the soul of Europe. Because the soul of Europe will come from those who are out loud shouting dignity and who are ready to die for it. Who died for it? In the morning, Oscar Nicht said that Europe is a collective learning project. I think those countries, which seems to be out of the map right now, but very much close when it comes to the concept of dignity, should be included in this collective learning project of Europe. So, yeah, actually this is it. Andalusia Reloaded, I wrote it for several times and I spoke about it in Amsterdam. Seriously, nobody bought it. It seems too far away, too utopic, maybe. Actually not. I am proposing a new internationale. A few years ago, it would be really awkward to talk about socialism or internationale in such an elite meeting. But now it's not that, awkward because of Bernie Sanders, most probably. Socialism became the most looked up word in the Webster dictionary. And after that, Bill Gates and many others started, vocally criticizing capitalism and neoliberalism. So I think Europe should go back to its dignity and call these people who are defending its fundamental values in other parts of the world and form a new internationale which might be called Andalusia Reloaded. Thank you very much.